Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan, and it is an exciting time. The Eagles will open their season on Sunday in New England against the Patriots. The NFL will have its season opener Thursday night. We got a lot to discuss here as we continue Inside the Birds. But Adam, the moment it's finally arrived, it's not about conjecture anymore. It's not about who's going to make the 53 or is this guy going to be on the practice squad. It's here, baby. I'm excited.
I am, and look, you know how crazy I am with the weather. High 70s, but 6 days from now, scattered thunderstorms. Of course, that can completely change, but I digress. You know how crazy I am with the weather. But yeah, yes. I can't believe it's here. 3 days from now, we got the Thursday night game. The Lions are on Thursday Night Football. Why? Because I remember talking to the league about this over the years. They do look at who the teams are who maybe break out or could win their division and so forth. So the league clearly thought highly of the Lions. They'll be the away team. The Super Bowl champs host them this week. But we'll see what happens in that game. But the big one, obviously, is in Foxborough. The return of Tom Brady.
Right. The return of Tom Brady. He's actually retired for good.
We think.
Yeah, we think. Well, they wouldn't have done this if they were not, pretty sure that he was done for good.
You know, the thing is, with these retirements, I've seen it positive and negative in terms of how the team takes it. Are they doing it before the game, mid halftime, the honoring of them or whatever?
That's a good question. I thought it was before the game, but okay. I don't 100% know.
Yeah. Because sometimes it works against the team because it's like an emotional high. And I mean, my God, we're talking about the best player in NFL history, arguably, being honored. So we'll see how they handle that. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to be, and we'll have a full breakdown for Thursday's show on the matchups and injuries. And by the way, the first injury report for both teams will be on Wednesday by 4 p.m. Eastern. They'll have that out. And then later today, for the teams playing Thursday, the way the league works is you have to release an injury report 3 days. So there's one for the Lions and Chiefs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, I know there's some intrigue around one particular Eagle that we'll talk about because he kind of was a he was seen not practicing, and now people are a little concerned about the season opener. We'll get into that. And like you said, some of the recent transactions, but really now we go full steam ahead into the season, which is exciting. Now, this will be the last week of 2 pods per week before we shift into a 3 per week mode like we normally do during the regular season. So you got today, you've got Thursday, and then I'm think on Thursday's pod, don't hold me to this. On Thursday, I think we'll be able to make all full announcements about our programming upcoming for Inside the Birds this year.
I have one question on that. We know we have a lot of new program. Anything? So we can't announce not even one show we can't even announce?
No, but I'll say this. We've been getting a lot of questions about a certain show that we've had for the last few years. And to our knowledge, that show will we expect that show to be back. So I think everybody knows what we're talking about. I just don't like to speak in absolutes because anything can happen. Like you and I tomorrow could we could croak. And what would happen? Then nothing happens, right? No, I'm just kidding. That was kind of morbid. But anyway, seriously, we just don't like to announce anything until this is still a business.
Yeah.
Stuff has to be signed on the dotted
line. No doubt. No, you and I think we're this in our careers where we think we have something that doesn't happen.
Right. So we can say this. Wait, we can use a very, very popular football term. So we've kind of agreed to terms with people.
Yes.
Just got to make sure all the terms and conditions are signed,
Let's see. 1, 2, I think 3 different shows. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So, and then we also have something special for Patreon. Again, we can't announce that either. We're all going to announce it at once, but also we'll be doing our pregame show as well. So cannot wait till we get this all out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank our recent Patreon members, Jalen and Carl, the latest to hop on the board, and really excited. I'm sure they're excited about the content. Like Adam said, we're going to have some additional Patreon programming. We've already started. We did 2 Ask ITB live streams in August, and we're going to continue that throughout the season as well. We're going to increase from 1 to 2, correct?
Yes. In fact, we got one. I ran this by you. You said yes. So we're going to do it tomorrow night at 7 Eastern. This is the first of our special bonus live streams. We're going to do 2 every month instead of the required 1. We're going to do 2. We'll do them like every other week. So yeah, this week's will be tomorrow night. Get you ready for that game, early intel and injuries as we get through the week and the matchups and so forth. And we'll probably clue you people in a little bit on our announcements that are coming first, as we always do. If you're in Patreon, you get it first. So we'll give you a couple hints in there. And also in our Chalk Talks, we'll be coming back this month. Now wait to do that. We had Chuck Logano, the former Bears defensive coordinator, former Colts head coach, talk about Sean Desai. Sean worked for him for 2 years, and he outlined exactly what he sees that defense looking like. A former president of the Eagles, Joe Banner, came on and talked about several issues. The Eagles offseason, his concerns with the team, though he's very bullish still on them. He's been bullish on them, quite frankly. I mean, he was 1 year in advance. He was super bullish on them in 16. But I guess he's 1 year in advance because they won the Super Bowl the next season. Joe is not just a numbers guy. He knows personnel really well, and we love doing that. Our interview with him. We'll get Joe back later this month, and also later this season. And Chuck Pagano said he'd be honored to come back for Patreon subscribers. So,
oh, great! Can't wait to have him back because he's great.
Great. Yep.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so Inside the Birds is sponsored by BetterHelp, and look, we've all, in some form or fashion, been at a crossroads in our life where we don't know where the road ahead is going to take us. I have had to juggle multiple jobs at one time. That's been difficult. Adam, same thing. You know, we've all needed to become accustomed to working in an industry that's not exactly stable, and it can be grueling and take a real toll. Then you got relationships, home life, finances, anything. Whatever's going on, therapy can help you find a way forward. It can help you with positive coping strategies and learning how to set boundaries for yourself and really just empower yourself to be the best version of you. You don't have to have like major trauma in your life to benefit from therapy. So if you're thinking about therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/thebirds to get 10% off your first month. Do it today. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/thebirds. All right. Let's talk about some of the transactions, Adam, that the Eagles have made over the last, I guess, since they officially announced their practice squad. We talked about this a little bit. Are you still surprised that there are, other than Ben Van Sumeren, there really are very light at inside linebacker, even at the total 69, not just the 53.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. A couple things here. So with Van Sumeren, the reason why he wasn't claimed is very simple. He had a guarantee in his base salary, or I don't want to say it was a lot, but I know a couple teams I spoke with said can't do it. We like him, but he's got that base guarantee in addition to the signing bonus the Eagles were responsible for. So. The fact of the matter is he passed their waivers unclaimed. I can't see him, though, being activated unless it's for specials. But on your point, I'm a little bit surprised they have not signed a veteran. There's no question, because right now, we understand we should let you know by Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, any player that the Eagles would want on the roster to be elevated or sign off of to go to the 53, they have till 4 p.m. Eastern this Saturday to do it, or their roster's locked until Monday. So right now, they don't have that guy. They don't have that veteran linebacker. And Morrow is, by the way, Nick Morrow is still out there.
Makes you wonder if maybe there was some kind of, like you talk about the wink nod thing where, you know, yeah, you're going to get released, but we plan to bring you back. But why wouldn't they have, my thought is, well, then why wouldn't they have just signed him to the practice squad? Or did they give him a little wink nod? We're going to sign you back after week 1, right? Because he was a vested vet.
Yep.
And then they suspect by then they'll have a roster, even though if they'll either make a roster opening and try to squeeze a guy through waivers at that point that they felt like they wouldn't have been able to squeeze through at the cutdown day. Because we know once teams start getting their 53 and practice squad, they find their guys. They're not necessarily scouring the wire the way they are on cutdown day. So maybe they felt, I'm just hypothetically speaking here, right? Because we've seen this in the past. Maybe they felt they could slide a Mario Goodrich through waivers after week 1 and then sign Nick Morrow to take his spot and get Mario back on the practice squad to go unclaimed. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting that Nick Morrow hasn't signed and that they're so light at that position.
Yeah. And now look, they could also sign him now to the practice squad Morrow, and then elevate him on game day, or the day before, obviously at 4 p.m. Eastern prior to the New England game. It's just who knows? I mean, today's Monday, so Oh, the way, but we should mention the practice week goes like this. It should be today, off tomorrow, because they want to get back to their regular schedule. The teams are playing on Sunday. I just checking a lot of teams' practice schedule. They seem to be all the same. The practice today. They had, by the way, the weekend off, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Practice today. I don't know if they'll do the dreaded 10-10-10 that Andy Reid and Doug Peterson used to do. But then off Tuesday, like all NFL teams do, unless they're playing Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for their normal practice week.
Right. Normal week. Everything begins normally. And there won't be too many normal week 2 immediately. They'll be in a different short turnaround mode, right? Because that's the Thursday
right?
night game against the Vikings, is it not?
You are correct. So then the Eagles will have a walkthrough on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
a very long walkthrough. Yes, correct. They play on the 14th next Thursday at 8:15 versus the Viking for the home opener. It's week 2 like they did last year.
And then real quick, isn't week 3 Tampa Bay Sunday night?
Yeah. Yes.
A weird schedule.
Eastern. Yeah. Yeah.
Who in the world thought that the Eagles and Tampa were going to be a good? I mean, the Eagles, yes, but like, what is so attractive about that matchup that you wanted on Sunday night?
It is weird, yeah, and it is at Tampa, by the way, 7:15 Eastern. At least it's not 8 o'clock, for a Sunday night game. So
yeah,
I agree with you. Well, yes, Brady's gone, but it's not like they're putting the Cardinals on Sunday night. That would.
I mean, how many games do you think Tampa's going to win this year? 5.
I hear you. No, I hear you. They're but the Cardinals should not get any primetime games.
I wouldn't put the Cardinals on PBS.
Oh, geez. So that's really funny, by the way.
I wouldn't. I would not.
Where'd you come up with that one?
You know what? If I were Comedy Central, I would think twice about having the Cardinals.
Well, on your point, guess
what are you checking?
Primetime game. What's that?
I thought you were checking Comedy Central. You said to your point.
No, the Cardinals don't have a primetime game now. Okay, week 18, no team knows when their game is because they leave that open. See who needs the game. Week 18, excuse me, the 17th game. None of the times are scheduled.
Right.
But yeah, they don't have a primetime game, nor should they. In fact, wasn't there another team that didn't?
Let's see. The Rams, I wouldn't. Well, they're always because they're LA, so they'll definitely have some primetime games.
The Falcons don't, but they have an England game.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's
a primetime morning game.
right, exactly. So
all right. So yeah, we went through the practice squad. Were there the two, was it we didn't get to the final 2 signings they made, like LaRaven Clark?
3, yes.
3,
actually.
Right.
So let's see. The initial 60-man roster will definitely change, but the initial set through these are signed contracts, not agreements. These are signed contracts. Offense. Not a quarterback, by the way. Not a quarterback. They have 3 on the 53, none on the practice squad. But they have, and right now they don't have any running backs. So I'm sure that'll change at some point. But of course, the Eagles have 4 running backs on the 53.
Mm-hmm.
4 receivers, 3 of them could return. Devin Allen did return punts a little bit, but he's generally a kickoff returner, and definitely improved in practice the final 2 weeks of training camp. Looked really good, as a matter of fact.
Right.
Joe's been got it, which we fully expected. He'd be back. He wasn't playing. Greg Ward, he's back for his 7th year. Year 7 on and off the roster, but he's only 53. I mean, he's on the practice squad.
Right.
And Britton Covey, one of those guys, almost certainly will be added to the roster by Saturday, if they needs to return punts or kicks or both, or maybe Boston Scott could be the kickoff guy, but they need a punt returner.
Right. Which it could be Zacchaeus also, but why would you do that if you're going to have him as part of your offense? Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. Well, here's the thing. If they don't activate it, you can't go into a game with 4 receivers. Like that's really rolling the dice. So we expect something to happen by Saturday. Brady Russell, tight end. LaRaven Clark is back for his 3rd tour of duty with the Eagles. How about that one?
Yeah. How about that? I feel like that was just again, we talk about, even if you don't feel like you need a player, when someone who has good experience like he does is out there and you have a chance to bring him to your practice squad, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it did make me think, Adam, because they added another offensive lineman. Who do you suspect would be the backup right guard if Cam Jurgens were to get hurt? Would it be Jack Driscoll or Tyler Steen?
I would think Driscoll would be.
I would too.
Steen is new to the position. Why would you at this stage? I know Jurgens doesn't have a lot of experience overall playing offensive line. It's only his 4th year as an offensive lineman, formerly the tight end. first years of Nebraska, but he clearly won the job. And Steen is just not ready for it. It would first of all, he's got to like. Here's the other thing: is Steen going to dress week 1?
That's a
We'll
great
dress on
question.
Thursday.
Great question.
That show, but that's something they'll have to deal with. It. Look, but think of it this way: if he dresses, you think he could play. I mean, that as coaches, you and obviously Stalin will make the call in terms of being ready or not, and it's up to Howie Roseman makes the calls on. As all GMs do. They meet with the coaches and then they talk it over, and all GMs have say on who dresses game day, but generally leave it to the coaches because in the end the coaches know who's ready or not. So that's a good one. We'll have to take a look at that.
Here's another good one. Right?
Yeah.
And this is all because of the strange way that they put their 53 together.
Mm-hmm.
Which tight end is inactive week 1?
I was Alberto, because he just got there.
Just got here. Okay, that makes some sense. I
not,
don't know though. He's a talented kid.
I know he is, but he's got to learn the offense.
I guess so.
This will be. He got probably one walkthrough in, and then, obviously he'll get 1, 2, 3, 4 practices in this week.
Yeah.
Ton of walkthroughs. That's a lot to ask. That would floor me if Alberto.
Yeah. Now by week 3 though, it might be Calcaterra because you're not going to have 4 active tight ends on the active game day roster.
Nobody's hurt. Absolutely.
Right.
They're running off the practice squad offense. Brett Toth, obviously backup guard tackle. Julian Good-Jones. Okay, so this is interesting. They don't have a backup center right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is something you and I have talked about a lot. If they would cut Josh Andrews, which they didn't. By the way, he's not been signed by anyone. I wonder if he'll retire or not, or did the Eagles put him? The Eagles wanted to play the roster tag. Hey, Josh, we'll sign you after week 1, so your base salary is not guaranteed. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they could elevate Julian Good-Jones, who is a guard by trade, but has also played some center. We saw him in training camp do it. Didn't he get some first team reps when they gave Kelsey some reps?
Second team reps, I believe. Yeah.
No, but when even when Kelsey was there, he came in.
He was I saw him get second team center reps when Kelsey was first team rep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then on special teams, obviously Aaron Sipos is back. Their plan is to activate him unless they sign one of these punters they worked out. I got the workout list for the entire league last week, and I'm not sure what their fascination is with Aaron Sipos. And I know they know him, and he was doing fairly well before the high ankle sprain, and that was a bad injury, unfortunately. But wouldn't you want to upgrade with him? Blake Gillikin is the kid. He's from Penn State, isn't he?
Yes, he is a Penn State kid.
Really good punter. Now he got beat out by a 30-year-old punter with who's at the University of Miami. He's from overseas with the Saints. And Pat O'Donnell's been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
Decent punter. Colby Wadman, who was with Denver and some other teams, also in USFL, the Satellite League. So now the way these workouts work is you tape them, you have them. They can get a physical, so you know where they're at physically. If you decide to move on from, in this case, if they moved on from Sipos, they could sign one of these guys if they so choose. And I suspect they might work out other punters as the season goes along if they stick with Sipos. But the fact of the matter is, they have to be better. As good as this team is, roster is, it's always about trying to be the best that you can be. And we'll see what they do here. Right now, it's Sipos is the guy, and we'll see if they change their mind.
I believe Wednesday will be an interesting day because if you were going to add a punter, you don't need him for Labor Day weekend. You're not, today, Monday. I don't think you really need him for because it's a like you said a light day. Tuesday's a day off. Wednesday is the day you convene to start it off. It would not surprise me if by 4:00 Tuesday or early Wednesday that there was a punter that was signed, not named Aaron Sipos, and then that would probably enable them to release Sipos from the practice squad, and then whoever gets off the 53 because they sign a punter then takes that spot on the practice squad. We'll see. It's just what I suspect. By the way, give us the status of the punter from the Steelers, Braden Shen, right?
Braden Mann, yeah.
Braden Mann. He did get he got the next day they waived him. He went unclaimed, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Yeah.
So he's out there
as of 6 a.m. Eastern today. He's still out there. There's been no juice with the Eagles with him as of right now. We'll see that you should add him to the list in terms of guys who are available.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens. As we know, they put a claim in mid-April for him. So I'm told the Bengals and the Steelers.
Mm.
So we'll see what happens going forward here. And by the way, the Patriots punter out of Michigan State, who they drafted, is a right-handed punter, right-footed, right-footed punter. I can say it.
Right-footed punter. Aren't most punters right-footed punters? Or
there are a couple lefties. They're not many, but there are a couple. Bryce Baringer is a right-footed punter out of Michigan State, who was drafted by them.
Okay. Nice. One last thing. Wait, did I call Braden Mann Braden Shen? Isn't that a flyer?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I called him a flyer. That's great.
That's a hell of a faux pas.
That really
That's
is
funny. What's that?
Just like the guy from the Giants, Lemieux, right? Isn't there a Lemieux on the Giants? Alignment,
Lemieux.
Shane Lemieux.
You call Mario? Yeah.
Mario, Claude, whatever.
Yeah, Claude Lemieux. No, was he flyer?
I think for a little bit, right? I know he was
the
like the bad boy of hockey for a long time. Everybody hated him when he was with the Avalanche, right?
I could be right. I don't even remember, but maybe he wasn't with the Flyers. But anyway, so those are the workouts defensively for the practice squad. The new guys, Thomas Booker, who's a defensive tackle. Teron Jackson's back. Kyron Johnson did pass through waivers on claim. He's back. So did Van Sumeren. Boy, I'm interested to see if they activate him at all over the first couple of weeks for just specials, because they need special teams help coverage. Kai Garner's back. Tywan Mullen, who's an undrafted free agent who was with the Chargers. From my understanding, whatever tape teams watched looked pretty good. He's a small slot corner. And Tristan McCullum is back. And no, the guys who are not signed to the practice squad, some have signed with other teams, but we'll go through it. Ian Book, Kenny Brooks, no surprise. Tyree Cleveland, Eagles, he passed through waivers on claim, went to IR. Eagles reached his injury settlement with him. We are told, or what we understand, is there's some potential interest later in the season to bring him back, just like they did when Greg Ward was on IR, and then they reached an injury settlement some years ago. We'll see what happens. They have to see how he's doing first, but it's not another question to bring him back. Jaden Hasselwood is not signed with the team yet. Johnny King, Freddie Swain, who came in just for that preseason game. Boy, he's not a bad player. We'll have to see.
Who's that? Who's not a bad player?
Freddie Swain.
Freddie Swain's not. I thought Johnny King had some nice catches too, by the way, for the Eagles in the preseason. And our own Andrew DeCecco, who's been just kicking ass the last few weeks, reported that Johnny King had a workout with the Giants.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
I believe that the workout is today, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see how that works out for him. I thought he had a nice. He's a big guy, made some nice catches as soon as he got here. So we'll see what happens with him.
The word on the street is, in scouting around the National Football League, Joseph Ngata runs a little bit better than Johnny King. And we talk about Ngata having trouble getting separation, but man, he's a big body, 6'4" receiver who gets open. He does get open in a certain area, but the problem is it's going to, when teams actually could defend you and they're trying to game plan, you see that that's where you get concerned, because in college, out of Clemson, that was he had 3 or 4 issues that teams had with him. That was one of them, that you wondered, could he get open at the NFL level? Now, he did a good job, in training camp and preseason. He had some nice plays, but he's on the practice squad. And then Tyree Jackson got signed to the Giants practice squad, speaking of the Giants. And we know there's some what's his name? Is his name Brandon Brown, the assistant GM?
Yeah, Brandon Brown.
So obviously he knows him. Tyrese Robinson signed he was a guard with the Eagles practice squad. He signed with the Vikings practice squad. And then defensively, a lot of these guys are still on the street. Robert Cooper was signed just for the preseason game. He's out there. Olave Sagopulu, he's out there. Caleb Sanders, Mark Wilson, Noah Ellis, who they reached injury settlement with. After he passed the waivers unclaimed, he went to IR. Then they reached injury settlement with him. Janoris Robinson signed with the Raiders practice squad, by the way.
I had a feeling somebody was going to pick him up at him. The length is tantalizing. And he had a pretty good camp. He did.
I wonder if they try to bring him back. And then sometimes depends on, because if you look at the Eagles defensive line rotation, it's pretty deep at end. And then you look at the situation with the Raiders. Okay, Max Crosby's great. Jalen Jones is great. Tyree Wilson's coming back from major injury. They don't have a lot of depth. So who knows? Maybe That's why he went there.
Yeah, but then he run. It's possible. I agree with you. I think he needed to go somewhere else that wasn't as deep at edge.
Okay.
But you just mentioned three guys that the Raiders are going to play above him. So again, when you get down to that fourth and fifth edge guy, got to be able to play special teams. Now, just because Janaris wasn't as good as Patrick Johnson, doesn't mean he can't play on special. So maybe he can for the Raiders. But I did feel like he needed to go to. I felt like the Eagles were one of the worst situations for Janaris Robinson. He's got good length, he has good size, he has good athletic traits. We know the team liked him, felt that he was just a little stiff, but he did have good power and speed to power, right? I mean, you're talking about a backup defensive end. You're looking for somebody who can show you something in a limited number of snaps. And I think Janaris Robinson could probably do that for somebody, but he was not. How is he going to get on the field ahead of all the guys that the Eagles have on the edges? It just wasn't going to happen.
Sure. But he's a guy that definitely opened some eyes in training camp. He is now with the Raiders practice squad. Tyreek Maddox-Williams, who had a bunch of plays in that preseason game, but Eagles have not signed him to the practice squad. He's still out there. Quentin Bell, who was definitely only here for that preseason game, is sort of a young journeyman. And Josiah Scott signed with the Steelers practice squad. So that is out of the picture. And when you really look at it, practice squads are fluid in terms of movement. No team keeps all 16 players all season. There's movement every couple of weeks typically. And I would expect Eagles to jockey around for this practice squad here, whether it's an offensive lineman. In fact, I'd be shocked if they don't have a lineman. Why? They only have Tyrese Robinson. They only have, let's see the guys that they have on the practice squad. They need a young developmental guy. Raven Clark is not that guy. Brett Toth, kind of not anymore. He's been around long enough. Julian Good Jones could be, but he's not a tackle. They could use another developmental guy. We'll see what happens there.
Is Fred Johnson, in your mind, a little bit too old to be considered developmental because he's played a lot? I mean, because he's only like 25, right? 26?
So he is 20. He just turned 26 in June. And look, he started his career with the Steelers, went with the Bengals and the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But he's set here now. He's just a backup left tackle. What they really need, and the Eagles really pride themselves on this, across training, particularly younger players.
Mm.
Like Sua Pet is the only guy that you could think of. Like Driscoll could play multiple positions, actually 3 or 4. Steen now plays at least 2. Fred Johnson only plays 1, and Sua Peta plays both guard spots, where in the beginning he only played 1.
Mm-hmm.
But really, they really can use a, because remember now, Driscoll's in the final year of his rookie deal. He may not be back next season. So they can use,
point.
Yeah, they can use one more development guy.
Yeah. All right. By the way, real quick, we glossed over, but I wanted to mention I almost fell off my chair, Adam, when the Eagles announced their practice squad finished and they signed another defensive tackle. Right. I mean, you would have think the last thing they were going to do is sign another. They have 7 DTs on the 53 man, and they sign an 8th guy in Thomas Booker. But again, remember what they're looking for, right? That potential. That guy. This guy was a 5th round pick last year, and he played 10 games for the Texans. So they must have saw something in the pedigree and the experience there to say, hey, this guy started 10 games or played 10 games, I should say, for an NFL team last year. Let's bring him onto our practice. I don't know how he's ever going to ever impact this team, but young, developmental, you never know.
Here's why. Contavious Street, 1-year deal.
Yep.
Okay. Marlon Tuipulotu. Yes, we thought he'd be the backup nose. He probably will be. Not in role, yes, but Jalen Carter could also play nose, depending on how you shade him.
Yep.
And then you've got Fletcher Cox, who could retire.
1-year deal. Yeah.
So yeah, I could
Milton
see
Williams,
that.
1 year left, right?
This is his 3rd year. Yes,
this is year 3. Okay.
Yeah. So, but look, a lot of these guys, Tuipulotu has not proven anything. Milton Williams certainly has been a good story. But Jomo has not played yet as an NFL player. So look, one of the reasons why the Eagles are so competitive year after year after year, really starting, look, 17, 18, 19 regression, 20 bottom, 21 up, 22 monster season. It's the ability to look ahead 2 or 3 years. Once a guy's contract up, who do we have in the pipeline? And that's where you got to do it.
All right. Last transaction to discuss, obviously, is the Trey Sermon situation. He was waived. He had an injury, as we talked about in the last pod. So he was not claimed, and then he reverted right to the team's IR. So what's our understanding of the prognosis here?
Yeah, it's a short-term IR. Don't know exactly what the injury is. We don't know if he re-injured that ankle. If we watched him in practice, he looked fine, and then look, we're told it's a legitimate injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means if it's short-term IR, he could be available if all things go well with it, whatever the injury is, after week 4. It's got to be, you have to miss a minimum of 4 games. So we'll see. I mean, if he is available after week 4, then they'll have a decision to make. Does he get signed to the 53? Do they? I mean, do they? Or in the interim, if they don't want him, they could always reach injury settlement with him. We'll see how they handle it. But let's face it, the 4 spots are set with on the 53 with Gainwell, Swift. We know what we have a general idea what their roles are, and Penny and Scott. I mean, you just got room for a 5th running back. So it's hard to imagine he'd be on the roster, but you always have to look at the injury situation as well as the season progresses.
100%. But yet this could be something that sort of works out, in that we know that Rashad Penny, DeAndre Swift have kind of injury histories. And imagine, you got 4 weeks here. It's very possible one of those guys could get hurt. Trey Sermon's healthy, and bam, all of a sudden, a guy who they were going to have to cut is now making an impact.
And that's what I was talking about. That's exactly what I was saying. In particular, Penny and Swift for the first 4 weeks, see how they do. And not that they want this to happen. What if Penny doesn't look right the first 3 or 4 weeks and they're considered cut? I know that they're not as of now. I'm just saying if he doesn't look right, and the guarantee is so small.
Right.
That's what we were saying when all these deals got done. The Boston Scott's not going anywhere because he's too valuable for them. He's a great insurance policy, keep up returner, all the things that he does, but you got to see what Penny's got to prove himself. I know they put him in bubble wrap for most of the training camp. He looked healthy, but let's see how he does. He's the mystery man of this whole backfield. We know what Swift's going to do. We know what Gainwell's role is. We know what Boston Scott is, jack of all trades, but I don't know with Rashad Penny. I know for fantasy people. So right now, by the way, Swift is pretty much the first guy. Gainwell was when everything was coming out that Gainwell's going to be the guy early on in the season. But when you draft for fantasy, it's the entirety of the season. People know that Swift is pretty gifted, so he seems to be going lower 7th or 8th round. Gainwell's dropped a little bit. Penny, people are all over the map because nobody knows what to expect. I don't know.
I didn't know what to do with him, man. I just didn't know what to do with him from a fantasy standpoint.
Hey, did you draft yet?
I had one of my drafts, but another one is coming up in a day or 2. I only do 2 leagues. That's all I can handle.
Yeah, I hear I'm in too many.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. First, we want to remind everybody that Inside the Birds is presented by our friends at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. It is the exclusive Jersey Shore resort of Inside the Birds. We've been telling you that it's their 5th birthday this summer, and they're still celebrating. I know it's past Labor Day, but you know what? It's like 90 billion degrees today, right? So it feels like summer, and they're still celebrating with you. So join Ocean for exciting promotions and sweepstakes, headline entertainment, the best day life and nightlife lineup in AC, the debut of the birthday bar, exclusive local collabs and partnerships, commemorative 5th birthday merchandise, and so much more. Don't miss stunning fireworks and unique events all summer long. Ocean Rewards members will enjoy over $5 million in gifts and prizes, so be sure to sign up for an Ocean Rewards card to get in on the fun next time you visit. All right. Let's also pause to hear a word from some great sponsors. All right, Adam. Obviously, as we get toward the season opener, injuries become important. What's going on with this guy? What's going on with that guy? It'll be fascinating to see if he practices, if he's not, if he's on the report with Dallas Goedert, who was out of the practice over the last time the Eagles were practicing before the Labor Day weekend and everything. So he's one guy that you got to keep your eye on.
Yep, as long as he's working today,
right,
and especially Wednesday, because today doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. It's really Wednesday, the practice week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
That would not be good if he's not working Wednesday. I'm going to be saying, uh-oh. Now, did that have anything to do with, I guess you might as well the Albert O trade? Haven't heard that. No, obviously Albert O's last preseason game with Denver was ridiculously great. And look, they had a buying opportunity, which was very low. So we'll see, but we'll keep an eye on that one with Goddard. And we know about his injury history, just never know. And that it's weird because, they rested their starters in preseason. He looked fine in training camp, no issues there and anything. So we'll obviously keep an eye on it as we progress here. And the first injury report, by the way, is due on Wednesday. So if he's dealing with an injury, it's got to be on there. There's no doubt about it. By the way, Nolan Smith worked. He's on target to play. Son Reddick will play, coming back from thumb surgery. Like as he talked about, he just has to figure out a way to manipulate that surgically repaired thumb with that wrap that he's got on it. So it's never easy though. Talking to players who have to do it, particularly defensive players. It's just a different way. And the good thing is because of the bye week, he was able to do that and get out there and test it, and he'll obviously test it this week, and we'll see how well he can do. But he's good to go here. We'll keep an eye on Nolan Smith though, because of he's got to be able to get contact on that shoulder and see how he reacts to it, and they'll make sure that happens this week and however they need to do it. And that's pretty much it. Offensively, is there anything we were worried about with other than Goddard? We'll check out with that.
No, really, just Goddard. With the and I was trying to figure him out in my head. The question I asked you earlier would be, who would be certain backups at positions where we tend to see some injuries. Landon Dickerson comes off the field a lot, and every once in a while needs to be. I would think it's weird. This is the first time I can remember you have a different backup at different spots because the Eagles have done so good cross training. But I feel like if Landon Dickerson came off the field, the first person in at left guard would be Sua Opeta. Oh, they like him on the left side more than Jack Driscoll. They like Jack Driscoll on the right side. So if Cam Jurgens limps off the field or whatever at right guard, we suspect Jack Driscoll is in. If Landon Dickerson comes off, we suspect Sua Opeta is in. I guess that to your point, then it's very likely that Tyler Steen won't even be active. Because you got Fred Johnson as your backup left tackle. That's true, but they need to deactivate. They're going to have guys inactive, and
right. Well, but
they're not going to use a guy.
Right. On your point, do they really need 10 active? No, they don't.
No.
That to me, we'll see. I mean, only they know, and Stoutland will have a big say in it. But to me, it should be. I'm sure they have 9, not 10. I'm sorry, they have 9 on their 53. But typically, 8 is what you dress unless there are injuries, because Driscoll could play left tackle and pinch. Well, Fred, they don't need him to because Fred Johnson's the backup. He's a backup right tackle and he's backup guard. The issue then would be for backup center. What do they do? Do they activate Julian Good-Jones? Do they use one of his activations, the 3 that he gets, or do they sign him off? Well, see, because when you do that, you got to release somebody. If you have 53 players, so
right.
Of course, they have 7 tackles, 7 corners,
and just to be clear. Yeah. Right. The practice squad, each player on the practice squad can be elevated 3 times in a regular season. It doesn't have to be 3 straight weeks. It's 3 times in 17 weeks. And then in the playoffs, it's unlimited.
Yeah.
And each team can elevate 3 different players a week, correct?
Yes. It was 3 before.
Yes. I don't think that's changed.
Up to 3. Yeah. Well, and there have been like the PUP rules changed. It drove teams crazy. The old rule was 6 weeks you got to miss, or NFI. If they're moved from active to reserve, PUP or NFI for the season, the old rule is you had to miss 6 weeks, 2-week acclimation period. Even if the guy's ready week 7, didn't matter. You had to miss 2 more weeks, then guy could play week 9.
Right.
Teams got sick and tired of it, so it's now 4 games, and the guy could play in the 5th week.
Right.
So thankfully, that was a ridiculous rule, and competition committee for the clubs got that straightened out. We will effort and get the cleanups, the rule cleanups that the league had this year, because it gets confusing sometimes.
Yeah. For example, there's no reason for them to activate Tanner McKee. Not that they would anyway, but now because the old rule is back where you can have an emergency quarterback. So Tanner McKee could technically get into the game even if he's inactive, if both Jalen Hurts and Marcus Mariota were to get hurt. If I'm correct with that now.
Yes, I think I do believe if they both leave and McKee comes in, I don't have the language in front of me, because the old inactive third quarterback, once the 2 guys went out and the 3rd guy comes in, the other 2 cannot come back in for any reason. That was the old rule. We have to get that clarified exactly what it is. I want the language though. I don't know what I like getting it, because we're able to get out the specific language clubs get. It's just because it's the sometimes with these rules there's ambiguity, but we'll clear that up. That'll be part of Thursday's show. In addition to the matchups, we'll get the New England side of it. And what to expect for their offense with Bill O'Brien. They do have one injury we should mention. Tyquan Thornton again goes on IR with shoulder injury. He is their lone deep threat, and
Yep.
he was a second round pick last year. I saw him last year in training camp. He's too wiry and thin. He needs to bulk up. And
do they still have Aguilar, by the way?
No, Aguilar is with Baltimore.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, they really don't have somebody. I mean, Devontae Parker can make a play down the field in a contested catch, but he's not a take you stress the top of your defense player. Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting. By the way, remember my infamous line from 4 or 5 years ago? If Brett Toth has to start for you at tackle, then it doesn't really, you're in trouble to begin with. Well, I would say that if Tanner McKee somehow has to wind up playing for the Eagles on Sunday against the Patriots, it's not going to be a good situation.
I would agree against that defense, which is so confusing, and the post snaps, Scott's like creating post snap like crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, now who knew AJ Feely after? Let's see, Coy Detmer. What did he do? He broke his elbow. He did something where he was in pain. Donovan, was that the ACL injury or the broken ankle?
That one was the ankle, I think.
Okay. And who knew about AJ? I mean, who knew? I mean,
right.
You got thrown in there, but McKee, he didn't really wow anyone in training camp. It was more the preseason. He looked really good. So we'll have to see what happens. Oh, one more note for you. This is interesting. This just by luck, and both teams are facing the same thing. The Patriots will face the same scheme. They're facing Fangio this week. The Eagles are running it, and they've faced the real man. Week 2, they're at home against the Dolphins. And then the Eagles face Belichick in week 1. Well, they face Brian Flores as running Belichick's defense in week 2 against Minnesota. Like that
how about that?
How about that one?
So they're basically facing 2 Belichick defenses in 5 days, right?
Yeah,
that's the Thursday night.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say this for Thursday because I just started doing advanced work on New England, and talking to some pro guys I know around the league who know New England pretty well, and I just happened to go through it. I'm like, wait a minute, aren't they playing for us week 2? Yeah, 20 runs, and there are not many former Belichick disciples running his defensive scheme, if at all, other than Minnesota. And by the way, Gerard Mayo runs it. He calls the defense. Some people around the league think will be Belichick's successor. They deny it. They say, it's not true. And
well, that just means it's definitely going to happen.
That
just means it's definite.
Billy, when Bill retires, 71 years old, 71. Mayo's so smart. It was a really good first round pick for the Patriots, and he's a de facto D coordinator. We'll see what happens. This is an interesting game because Belichick runs some he brings out defenses. Sometimes he has a run before. He'll find stuff on all tape from like the 70s or 80s from college teams that he's liked, and whatever the case may be, he just runs stuff that you always have to be ready for the unexpected. Of course, in the Super Bowl, with Patricia calling the defense, it didn't seem to matter with Nick Foles, but I digress.
Over the defense.
What's that?
Yeah, defense was optional that day anyway, Adam.
Oh my! Set an NFL record over nearly 1,200 yards, and what the great part about that is, Doug Peterson. I picked New England that game. I'm like, well, Belichick's going to outcoach Doug. Nope. I was wrong about that. How great was that?
It's great to be wrong sometimes, and that was an unbelievable.
Fun because
I did pick the Eagles to win that game, though.
Did you really?
I did. I just thought that they were on some amazing run, and they couldn't be stopped.
But who knew? But did you think Foles were? I mean, the Atlanta game was not very good.
Yeah, no. Even with Foles, going into the playoffs, I predicted them to still win I felt that they were still going to win the Super Bowl.
Wow, and they barely beat Atlanta.
Yeah, at halftime of the Atlanta game, I was like, "Oh, I am an idiot," because even though they were
didn't look good,
barely winning that game, it just did not feel good. Foles almost got intercepted right before halftime. The ball bounced off Keanu Neal's knees. I think it could have been an interception and right into Zach Ertz's hands. Right, just the kind of luck he was getting there. But
John DeFilippo, the former Eagles quarterbacks coach, did out. We in the last 6 months we had John on to talk about that the Super Bowl run, but we need to ask him. Nick Foles and that John coached Nick in 3 places. Bears and the Jaguars, Eagles. Wait, who's the other? It was the Jaguars, Eagles, and who else?
Chiefs.
No. With John coach.
Oh, DeFilippo.
Yeah, who's the 13?
He's been with the Jets. He's been with the Raiders. He's been with the Browns, right?
No. But I'm talking Nick Foles. Wasn't he with Flip in 3 spots? I think?
Oh no, I thought he was just with Flip with the Eagles and the Jags. I didn't think he was. Oh wait, the Bears.
Yeah,
years ago, right? Yeah, Bears.
Yeah, it was Bears.
Yeah.
But I want to know, because he's been around Nick so many times. Did he have any clue leading up to that game? Because I know we never asked him that question. It's just because Nick never repeated that success, and some of the players said he was like a man possessed, like he was just had those eyes, like it's like Flacco's run in 2012 in the playoffs, like you never saw this from in the regular season. Then he went off.
Yeah.
How do you explain this stuff?
I don't know. I love when guys seize the moment, though. I think it's the coolest thing, especially a guy that you don't expect.
Sure.
Brady in 99. I mean, whatever it is, 2000.
Yeah.
I just love that. I think that's one of the real special
sports
parts about the NFL. Shoot, Travis Fulgham for 4 weeks with the Eagles seized the moment. Now he dropped it the moment after that, but he did for 4 weeks seize it. I want to bring up one more point before we get out of here. First, I want to remind everybody to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com. They are enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at phlsportsnation.com. And let's hear a word from our friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schiller, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
And if you hop into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. I want to turn attention, because we've obviously got scheme to talk about coming up here, to something you pointed out like a month and a half ago in a training camp pod, which was Sean Desai's front alignment looked different than what Jonathan Gannon was doing last year. Last year, Gannon was basically a 5-man front as far as 3 defensive linemen flanked by 2 overhangs. And you were saying they're still sort of running a 5-man front, but sometimes you see like 4 D linemen in overhang or just a different front.
Like year one. Yeah.
Like year one of Jonathan Gannon. So I asked our analytics intern, who does an amazing job, Sam Finkel, to go through the 3 preseason games and chart all the defensive alignments that he saw and what the most predominant alignment was.
Nice.
And then what the sub alignments were and what packages they were used against. And he did a phenomenal job. And so we're going to run a little series on InsideTheBirds.com starting on tomorrow, Tuesday. It's a data-driven, analytics-driven, again, and it's all what the tape shows you about certain downs and distances and what they lined up in and certain teams and what those whether the team was 11, 12, 13 personnel. And we have all the data, and it's really fascinating. You were right. You were onto something. I don't want to use the preseason as some kind of barometer, as you're good, but we saw Jonathan Gannon doing this in the preseason, then he wound up doing it in the regular season. And we know, we've said this many times on the pod, everybody runs a different version, their own modification or version of Fangio. It's not all alike. And based on some of what I saw of Sam's work, which I'm really excited to share with everybody and InsideTheBirds.com, I do think Desai is leaning toward a little bit of a different front personnel look than Jonathan Gannon used. So stay tuned. It'll be really good reading, and we'll see how it works against New England.
Yeah, well, exactly. We'll know for sure. But see, year one, we were told they're going to run mirror match. And what Gannon did, and that's to his credit, you coach to your personnel. As Jason Avant from Q&A would say, know your personnel. And he knew he couldn't run it like he wanted to because they just weren't deep enough a corner. And Nelson was just not a good enough athlete, and they decided not to do it for very little of it. And last year, boy, that's all they really did. I mean, that was really in their zone. That's the way they did it. So we're expecting that. We know that they're running match coverage, and we'll see how it works out. We'll see if Bradbury plays any slot corner. He did talk about it as basically hitting that it's an emergency if something happened. They needed to. Right now, hey, look, if Mario Goodrich is not active, Bradbury could be the backup slot. Who knows?
Who knows? All right. Last thing before we get out, we have to do before our next podcast. We have to do our annual NFL kind of predictions. We'll do it on the pod a little bit, but then we'll do it on InsideTheBirds.com. We'll give you all of our predictions of division winners, Super Bowl champion, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, all that stuff. So that will come out probably Thursday morning on InsideTheBirds.com.
We should do over-unders. I was 7-5 last year. I missed badly on the Jaguars. So did Las Vegas.
I'm going to add that. I'm going to add that as a category, like
Oh yeah,
a couple
because-
of over-unders you like and you don't
Yes.
like, or a
Yeah,
couple you like over, a couple you like under. We'll do that.
yeah. 'Cause Jaguars last year over 5.5. Now, if the Cardinals take the under at 2, no, I'm just kidding.
Coming to you on Comedy Central. No, I don't know why I'm picking on the Cardinals. I think it's because just like Nick Sirianni did, Jonathan Gannon's kind of going through it with the weird analogies. I don't know if you saw the
No,
you didn't see his team speech that the team put out there.
no, I need to see it. Yeah, because I know
he's asking people who took the bus to the complex and who walked and who did this and he kept saying, well, did you have a fire in your belly when you were doing that? And these guys were looking like, well, I was reading the newspaper on the bus, man. I mean, like these are grown men going to work.
Now you mentioned, I'm gonna have to watch it. I know in this town in Philly, he's persona non grata despite getting the Super Bowl with this guy.
Yeah.
But hey, it's fine. You could hate or not like who you want. That's
how it works.
To do that. Yeah. But good luck, Jonathan Gannon and those Cardinals. They are going to be bad. I almost guarantee it.
Yes, I think I'd almost guarantee you're correct. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us as we fly toward the start of the regular season here on Inside the Birds.